Hello and welcome to Easynomics. I'm Siddharth Zarabi. On the show today, on this episode, we are going to talk about something that you might have seen in the headlines, which is a rating agency called S&P Global, having revised its outlook for India. What does this outlook upgrade mean? Why is it important? Why is it significant? And while ratings and these actions may not be so easy to understand, we have seen that this news has been welcomed across the board largely, including by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. It's also led to some reactions where it is being said that S&P is 10 years late. Before I tell you why some people feel that S&P and others have been 10 years late, let me explain to you what action like this means. The India outlook being revised, what basically has been done is by S&P's action is to trigger hopes that our sovereign ratings will be upgraded. This has been a long-standing demand. For now, what S&P has done is that it has raised the outlook to positive from stable, and this has been done after 14 years. The reasons are perhaps pretty well known to many viewers of our program. India's sound economic fundamentals, robust growth that we have seen particularly in the recent past, the government spending, including the massive infrastructure upgrade program, the control over fiscal deficit that has been achieved to some extent, and for S&P, the cautious fiscal and monetary policies also are one point that could lead to improvement in ratings over the next 2 years. So let's be clear about what S&P has done. It has raised the country outlook to positive from stable, and this then paves the way for a ratings upgrade which hasn't happened yet but could happen in 2 years. So our rating currently still stands at BBB A3. These are classifications, and these are classifications which are pretty technical in nature, but it's very clear that there is hope for a upgrade. Now what will it really mean for India? Before we get into that, let me try and bring to you what Nirmala Sitharaman has responded to and said after the S&P outlook. Nirmala Sitharaman wrote, and that tweet is up there. She said the S&P Global ratings revision of its outlook on India from stable to positive is a welcome development. This reflects India's solid growth performance and a promising economic outlook for the coming years. It has been possible due to the series of macroeconomic reforms undertaken over the past 10 years since 2014, along with substantial outlays for capital expenditure, fiscal discipline, and decisive and visionary leadership. She goes on to say that as envisioned by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India is well on track to become the third largest economy in the third term of the government and become Viksit Bharat by 2047. Now the S&P outlook revision has come just a couple of days before the final voting, the seventh and last phase of this current Lok Sabha election, a pretty long drawn campaign that's been held at the height of an Indian summer. It comes before that. I don't know how many people will take note of this and whether this would influence any voter, including even the economically minded, as far as their voting preferences are concerned, but it's good news. And it's good news in some ways that has come 10 years late by some points of view within the government. I recall earlier, even before the NDA government, Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to power, there's been this constant friction and back and forth and discussions between finance ministry officials and the executives of these rating agencies, because at various points of time, Indian officials have been at pains to explain to these agencies that India's fundamentals, its economic performance and other technical parameters that go into a ratings evaluation are better, and therefore India deserves a better rating. When a country has a better rating, the cost of borrowing goes down. That country is seen as a better investment destination, and the risk that is associated with a lower rated country obviously goes away. So for an economy the size of India, with our borrowing that we do both at the center and the state level, there is obviously a significant impacts a ratings upgrade will have. But that it took 14 years is also a testament to the manner in which these rating agencies look towards India, and perhaps their ultra extra caution as far as the approach to India is concerned. In the past, economists like Sanjeev Sanyal, who's spent time in the finance ministry and is now with the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, they have been critical. Other officials have been critical of the reluctance of these rating agencies to take on note, take on record all that has been done, particularly in the past 10 years, to improve our overall fiscal health. And there's been a bit of frustration as far as Indian officials are concerned. But be that as it may, this development promises to provide us a path towards an eventual upgrade, and that could happen as long as certain things pan out the way they are, which is continuation of the reform track, continuation of fiscal discipline, and obviously economic growth. Now on growth, let's also talk about what we can expect, because the fourth quarter GDP numbers are slated to be released on Friday, and various polls peg this number at, in fact it's a very wide range given the previous surprise that we saw, but at 5.8% to 7.5%. There are sources who estimate that GDP will be sharply above estimates, and that's the reason for the upper end estimate that you are seeing on the screen. But clearly it seems that there will be a positive surprise, just as we saw in the October-December quarter. So with that kind of growth, with the economic momentum and the manner in which many global investors are looking at India, a continuation of the overall economic direction is very, very key to maintaining the gains that we have now won after a decade and a half. And I must end here by pointing out that the costs and consequences of fiscal populism that has been announced, promised in election manifestos, particularly the manifesto of the Congress party, could derail many of these hard fought gains and improvements that we have seen as far as India's internal economic fundamentals are concerned, and the global way of looking at our economic performance. By one estimate, if you were to take only the financial impact of the Mahalakshmi scheme that the Congress party has promised in its manifesto, and a promise that it says will be for poor women in poor households, and if there is no woman, then to the oldest member of that household, a bare minimum calculation says that the cost of that scheme alone could be 4 lakh crore at 1 lakh rupees per annum. And we have seen after that manifesto last month, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi has now said not 1 lakh, it can even go up to 2 lakh. Therefore, that 4 lakh can become 8 lakh crore. Imagine the consequences of a 8 lakh crore outgo on only one scheme. There are 3-4 other schemes, and if we do the math for that and add to that, the amount will more than double. And that will have a massive impact on the finances of the country. This will obviously impact if such an event were to pan out, because by all estimates, by all reckoning, and we will have exit polls here on Business Today television as well on Saturday evening from 7 p.m. onwards. If that were to pan out, then many of these positive outlooks and the hopes of an upgrade that we have now seen with the latest S&P move will completely fade away. So, to sum up, we've seen that 10 years after Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to power for the first time, S&P has done a significant upgrade as far as the outlook is concerned. This gives us hopes for a ratings upgrade, but that has to take into account the political evolving situation in the country. And as of now, given expectations of what is likely to happen, one would say that we can continue to hope for better developments in this regard. But if the results were to surprise in any manner, then the consequences could be very, very different from what are being discussed currently. That's all that we have on this short episode, explainer episode of Easynomics today. A positive future for India seen by S&P. We'll come back with more. Until then, goodbye.
उठो, जागो और लक्ष्य से पहले मत रुको। विवेकानंद जी का ये उद्घोष भारत के युवाओं का जीवन मंत्र।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's heartfelt tribute to Swami Vivekananda.